The fact is, we have to bring our party together. We have to bring it together.
After winning 4 out of 5 primaries last night, Donald Trump again calls for GOP unity. But PACs are producing more attack ads in an effort to derail the Donald. Coming up, we'll meet someone out to dump Trump. Also ahead, Marco Rubio ends his campaign while President Obama names a Supreme Court nominee described as centrist by the New York Times. Yeah, right. Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, plans afoot to dump Trump. These establishment efforts continue despite the Donald's victory in 4 out of 5 primaries yesterday. Trump's biggest win came in Florida, and it ended the campaign of Marco Rubio.
We have something happening that actually makes the Republican Party probably the biggest political story anywhere in the world. Everybody's writing about it all over Europe, all over the world they're talking about it. Millions of people are coming in to vote. We have a great opportunity, and the people that are voting are Democrats are coming in, independents are coming in, and very, very importantly, people that never voted before. It's an incredible thing.
While it is not God's plan that I be president in 2016 or maybe ever, and while today my campaign is suspended, the fact that I've even come this far is evidence of how special America truly is.
So, are we headed to a brokered or contested GOP convention? To go in depth on what happens next, we're very pleased to be joined by Tim Miller. Tim is the former communications director for Jeb Bush's campaign, also senior advisor for the Our Principles PAC, and he was the co-founder of America's Rising PAC. We really appreciate your time tonight, Tim, here on Newsmax Prime.
Thanks, JD. Good to be here.
And we ought to take a look at your product. Okay. Your PAC producing several interesting commercials. Let's take a look at one that's entitled The Outsourcer.
Remember, we used to have made in the USA, right? When was the last time you've seen it?
Where are the ties made? These are beautiful ties.
They are great ties.
The ties are made in where? China? Ties are made in China. Now, where were these made?
I don't know where they were made, but they were made someplace. Beautiful.
Where are the shirts made? Bangladesh.
Well, it's good. Okay. We employ people in Bangladesh.
A lot of locals have been looking for work for them to hire here, and he's been outsourcing a lot of jobs.
We're doing many, many deals outside of the United States.
Our Principles PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So that's the ad.
Good stuff.
And did that run in Florida?
That ad actually only ran in Ohio, where Donald lost last night to Governor Kasich. And I think that you might see that in future states like Wisconsin, which is coming up here in a few weeks. Look, they ran as part of a series of ads, and basically the main message that we had to voters was, throughout his entire career in business, 5 decades, what Donald Trump has been doing is not looking out for regular workers. What he's been doing is looking out for himself and his own bottom line. And so whether it's not creating jobs here in America, but creating them over in Bangladesh, or whether it's having people who, when his companies went bankrupt, they lost money, but Donald Trump ended up getting the money. No matter what it's been, that's been an issue for him. D.C.
McAllister was on because you may recall in the last debate, he talked about H-1B workers. Correct. And he said, I hired them. And D.C. McAllister over at the Federalist said, the electorate views Trump like law enforcement views hiring a hacker. He knows where the problem is and he can fix it.
That's ridiculous. There's no evidence that if he got in there, he actually would try to fix it to help American workers. There's no evidence in his past. I mean, look, when he was asked about his resort here in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, and why he didn't hire American workers, he said, oh, American workers don't want these. These are seasonal jobs, so I hired a bunch of foreigners. Are you kidding me? If you put up an open call for a job at Mar-a-Lago, a fancy resort in South Florida, I bet you could find some American workers to work there.
Well, he was having his victory celebration at Mar-a-Lago last night, and he marveled at the fact that with all the negative ads out there, his positive numbers went up.
Well, that's not true. His ballot did well, particularly in Florida, but his positive ratings are not good. If you look at the exit polls last night, 1/3 of Republican voters who showed up to vote said if the race was Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, they'd look for another candidate. A third of Republican voters. So this is not the elites in Washington, D.C. This is rank and file conservative voters who said, I don't like Donald Trump.
But you and I know in campaigns, the reason you wage campaigns is to change opinions. Obviously, you want to add to that 1/3 number with the ads, and conversely, Trump, with the momentum, believes he can take it in the other direction.
And that's the question for the next 3 months. He's basically got about 40% of voters who are with him. We've got about 40% who are against him, and there's 20% left that are going to have to be convinced, and hopefully Ted Cruz or John Kasich can win them over.
And one of the challenges comes with the entire notion of going in for a contested convention. In fact, today something happened that may cause concern for a lot of the people you were citing and you hope to reach. House Speaker John Boehner, or the former House Speaker, went on CNBC, or actually was quoted as saying that he would endorse the current House Speaker, Paul Ryan, as the Republican nominee. Now, for his part, Paul was on CNBC this morning. Let's look and listen to what Paul Ryan had to say.
But I actually think you should run for president if you're going to be president, if you want to be president. I'm not running for president. I made that decision consciously not to. I don't see that happening. I'm not thinking about it. I'm happy where I am. So no, this is not.
Don't intend to do it. You're not making a Sherman statement about that, though.
I haven't given any thought to this stuff. People say, what about the contested convention? I said, well, there are a lot of people running for president. We'll see. Who knows?
That last line, I know Paul Ryan. I also know under the rules, as Speaker of the House, he would preside over the convention. Is he leaving the door open?
No. And I think John Boehner was joking. Look, the reality is our nominee is going to be Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or John Kasich. And to beat Donald Trump, Ted Cruz and John Kasich over the next 3 months, starting in your old state, Arizona, and Utah and Wisconsin, have to start beating them in primaries. And we think as the field is winnowing, Donald's having trouble getting to 50, that Cruz or Kasich can beat him, and one of them will be the nominee.
The gentleman for whom you used to work, Jeb Bush, has yet to publicly endorse any candidate, but Roger Stone says he thinks Jeb is ready to endorse Ted Cruz. What do you say to that?
Roger Stone has no idea what Jeb Bush is going to do, so I think he's just trying to get in the news. Jeb's brother Neil supports Ted Cruz, and I think he's proud to have his support. And as far as Jeb's concerned, I think he's going to do what's best for him.
What about Marco Rubio? Last night, fairly gracious, but then talked about a climate of fear, didn't mention Donald Trump by name. Do you see Marco Rubio and some of his staff joining a Stop Trump movement?
Look, I would hope so. And I think that anybody who thinks that A, Donald Trump is not a conservative, B, Donald Trump has no chance to beat Hillary Clinton, and he doesn't have the temperament to be the president, looking at those three things, how could you support him? That's what Jeb said in the campaign. That's what Marco said last night. So, yeah, I would encourage them to go on and get on board with Ted Cruz or John Kasich.
Rather than personalities, one of the issues that may emerge for November we heard about earlier today. President Obama goes out in the Rose Garden with a judge by the name of Merrick Garland. And, of course, the talk in Washington through a certain media prism is that this guy is moderate or he's center-right. Your take on what President Obama is trying to do, is the Senate right to say, nope, we're not going to have hearings?
Well, for starters, this guy's not center-right. That's crazy. I mean, he's basically in line with Sotomayor and Kagan on the left side of the court. So that's number one. Number two, this goes to show how important it is to stop Donald Trump. And let me tell you, if Ted Cruz is our nominee and he wins the presidency, I am 100% sure he will nominate a conservative justice. Donald Trump has never even named a conservative justice he likes. He only named his sister, who is for partial birth abortion and is for Roe v. Wade. So, look, this is an important race.
What he said today was he would pick someone as close to Scalia as humanly possible.
Donald Trump's a negotiator. When you asked him in the last debate, and he said, what issue wouldn't you negotiate on? He said, I might negotiate on anything. He's not a conservative, and if conservatives want a conservative justice, they cannot trust that Donald Trump will put one on the court.
Tim Miller making his points for perhaps negotiations and a brokered convention. Tim, it's a very interesting conversation. We'll continue to watch your product. For now, we want to thank you for dropping by and being on the anchor desk tonight on Newsmax Prime.
Thanks, JD.